If you love dark, slow-burn single-dad romances filled with restrained desire, late-night tension, and the kind of intimacy that builds without either of them daring to cross the line, until it almost hurts. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss the next story. The indoor pool is nearly empty when Adrian Cole arrives. It's just past 10 p.m. Late enough that the air inside the aquatic center feels different. Quieter. More private. The overhead lights are dimmed to a low reflective glow, casting long ripples across the water that shimmer like glass. Adrian prefers it this way. He's 40, tall, broad-shouldered, still fit in the way men get when they work through grief instead of talking about it. His dark hair is still thick, his jaw clean-shaven, his posture controlled. From the outside, no one would guess he's a single dad. From the inside, he never forgets. He hasn't swum in years. Not since before the accident. Not since water stopped being just water and started carrying memories he doesn't like to name. But his doctor suggested it, low-impact, controlled breathing, something to bring him back into his body. So he signed up for private lessons. At night. With no one watching. Or so he thought. Adrian. The voice comes from behind him. Calm, professional. Warm without being overly friendly. He turns. She's standing barefoot on the tile. Clipboard tucked against her hip. White. Early 30s. Athletic in a quiet way, not flashy, not performative. Dark hair pulled back into a low ponytail. A few loose strands framing her face. She wears a fitted black rash guard and swim shorts, and the fluorescent lights catch faint droplets on her skin like she's already been in the water. "I'm Lila," she says. "I'll be your instructor." He nods. "Adrian." She smiles, not flirtatious, not distant. Observant. "Night sessions are my favorite," she says. Less noise. Less pressure. Something in his chest loosens at that. They start simple. Floating. Breathing. Control. Lila doesn't get into the water right away. She sits at the edge of the pool instead, legs dangling just above the surface, watching him with focus that feels professional, but personal enough that he notices. "Relax your shoulders," she says gently. "You're holding tension here." He adjusts. Feels the difference immediately. "Good," she murmurs. "You learn fast." He shrugs. "I'm good at following rules." She glances at him then, something unreadable flickering across her face. "Swimming isn't about rules," she says. "It's about trust." The word lands heavier than expected. Adrian keeps his eyes on the water. Over the next few sessions, a pattern forms. He comes late. She's always already there. The pool becomes their shared secret. This quiet, echoing space where time slows and the world narrows to breath and movement, and the way her voice carries across the water. She never rushes him, never touches him unless necessary. And when she does, adjusting his arm, steadying his balance, she always asks first, "Okay if I correct you?" Every time he says yes. Every time it costs him something. Because her hands are warm, steady, confident. And because it's been a long time since someone touched him with purpose instead of pity. One night, after a particularly long session, Adrian stays in the water longer than usual. He floats on his back, staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet lapping against the pool walls. Lila sits on the edge, watching him. "You disappear when you're floating," she says softly. He closes his eyes. "It's the only time my mind goes quiet." She nods like she understands that intimately. "What made you sign up for lessons now?" she asks. He hesitates. Then, because the water makes him honest, he says, "I used to swim with my daughter." Lila doesn't react. Doesn't interrupt. "She died," he continues. "Years ago." The words echo once, then disappear into the water. "I'm sorry," she says quietly. He opens his eyes. Looks at her. She isn't looking at him like he's broken. She's looking at him like he's still here. "I didn't come here to talk about it," he adds. "I know," she replies. "You came to feel something different." That's exactly right. The tension starts building in ways neither of them acknowledges out loud. In the way Lila's gaze lingers when Adrian climbs out of the pool, water tracing down his chest. In the way Adrian notices her knees drawn up when she sits at the edge, toes just skimming the surface. In the way silence stretches between them after lessons, neither of them in a hurry to leave. One night, the pool lights flicker briefly during a storm. The space dims. The water glows darker. Adrian's pulse spikes before he can stop it. Lila notices immediately. She stands steps closer to the edge. You okay? He nods too fast. She kneels instead, closer now, her face level with his. Look at me, she says gently. He does. Her eyes are steady, grounding. Breathe with me, she murmurs. He follows her rhythm. In, out. The moment feels too intimate for a public place. Too quiet, too close. When the lights stabilize, neither of them moves right away. Something has shifted. After that night, everything becomes more charged. Lila starts getting into the water with him. Not to demonstrate, but to swim alongside him. Close enough that he can feel the movement of her body through the water. She never touches him unnecessarily, which somehow makes it worse. One evening after practice, Adrian sits on the pool steps, elbows on his knees, breathing hard. Lila floats nearby, watching him. You're not just learning to swim, she says. You're learning how to stay. He laughs softly. You make it sound intentional. It is, she says. You don't drift anymore. You fight the water. He looks at her. And you. She pauses. I watch people leave things behind every day. Fear. Control. Sometimes themselves. And me. She meets his gaze. Holds it. You're learning how to want something again. The air between them tightens. Adrian stands slowly, water dripping from his body, acutely aware of her eyes on him. He wraps a towel around his waist, suddenly unsure of where to put his hands. Lila, he says quietly, this is crossing something. She nods. I know. But neither of them steps back. The night everything nearly breaks happens unexpectedly. Adrian arrives late. The building is almost empty. Lila is already in the water. Swimming gloves. Strong. Controlled. Beautiful. He watches from the edge longer than he should. When she notices him, she stops, breathless, water slicking down her neck. You're staring, she says lightly. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did, she replies, no accusation, just truth. He steps closer to the edge. Too close. The space between them is nothing but water and heat and restraint. I think about you when I'm not here, he admits. The confession hangs between them. So do I, she says softly. For one dangerous second, he imagines pulling her close, feeling her against him, letting go. Instead, he steps back. I can't, he says. I don't trust myself not to lose more than I can afford. Lila's expression softens. Not disappointed, not offended. Then don't lose yourself, she says. Just don't disappear either. Their last scheduled lesson comes too soon. Neither of them mentions it until the end. Adrian stands at the pool's edge, towel around his shoulders. So, he says, this is it. For lessons, she agrees. He nods, hesitates. I don't want to stop seeing you. She exhales slowly. Neither do I. The silence stretches. I won't cross lines here, she adds. But outside this pool, I'd like to know you. He meets her gaze. As me. As the man who stayed in the water, she says. He smiles. For real this time. Weeks later, Adrian swims alone for the first time. But the pool doesn't feel empty anymore. He's learned something. Not just how to float, but how to stay present. How to feel desire without letting it destroy him. How to let someone see him without losing the past he still carries. And when he steps out of the pool, towel over his shoulders, phone buzzing in his locker. It's a message from Lila. Coffee tonight? No water between us this time. He exhales, smiles, and for the first time in years, the future doesn't feel like something he has to survive. Feels like something he might want. The next week feels different. Not louder, not dramatic, just heavier. Adrian finds himself arriving earlier than usual, lingering by the pool longer than necessary, stretching muscles that don't really need stretching. The water hums softly under the lights, smooth and dark, holding reflections that blur whenever he moves. Lila notices. She always does. You're early, she says one night, standing at the edge with her clipboard tucked under her arm. I couldn't sleep, he admits. She nods slowly, as if that explains more than he realizes. The water helps with that. She slides in beside him this time without announcing it, the water parting around her body with quiet confidence. The movement is graceful, controlled, familiar. Adrian feels it instantly, the subtle shift in the water, the awareness of her presence not as an instructor, but as a woman sharing the same space. They swim side by side. No talking, just rhythm. Every time he turns his head, she's there, matching his pace, not pushing, not pulling away. The proximity is maddening, the restraint even more so. When they stop near the shallow end, both breathing harder than the exertion alone should cause, Lila rests her arms on the pool ledge. Water beads on her forearms, catching the light. "You're stronger than when you started," she says quietly. "Physically?" he asks. Her gaze lifts to his. Holds. In ways that matter. Something in his chest tightens. Adrian grips the edge of the pool, knuckles whitening beneath the water. "I don't know how to want something halfway," he says. "It's either nothing or everything." Lila studies him for a long moment before answering. "Then maybe this isn't halfway." The words sink deeper than she probably intends. That night, the storm outside is worse than predicted. Thunder rattles the building. Rain lashes against the high windows, streaking them with silver lines. The rest of the facility empties early, lights dimming further than usual until the pool feels like a private world carved out of time. The power flickers again. Adrian's breath catches this time before he can stop it. Lila is beside him instantly. Not touching. Just close. "Stay with me," she says softly. "Feet on the floor. Water around you. You're here." He nods, jaw tight, forcing himself to breathe. When the lights stabilize, he realizes how close they are. Her shoulder nearly brushing his chest, her eyes searching his face for signs of fracture. "You don't have to be strong here," she adds. "Not for me." That almost breaks him. He steps back before he does something reckless, something honest. "I need a minute," he says. She lets him have it, which somehow feels more intimate than pursuit. The next session, she doesn't get into the water at all. She sits at the edge instead, knees drawn up, chin resting on her arms as she watches him swim. Adrian feels her gaze like heat against his skin. When he finally climbs out, water trailing down his torso, she looks away. Not abruptly, not shyly, but deliberately. As if giving him space he didn't ask for but desperately needs. "You ever think about what happens after?" she asks. "After what?" "After you stop holding everything together." He dries his hands slowly. "I'm afraid there won't be anything left." She meets his eyes again. "I think you'd be surprised." The silence stretches. Charged. Unspoken. When she finally stands, she's closer than she should be. Close enough that he can smell chlorine and warmth and something distinctly hers. Neither of them moves. "This isn't just about swimming anymore," Adrian says. "No," she agrees. "It hasn't been for a while." Their last official lesson arrives like a quiet threat. Neither mentions it. They move through the water slower than usual, stretching every drill, every pause. Lila adjusts his posture once, her fingers resting briefly at his waist before pulling back. Too brief. Too deliberate. Afterward, they sit on the pool steps together, feet submerged, shoulders nearly touching. "You don't have to stop coming," she says carefully, "just because the lessons end." He exhales. "I was hoping you'd say that." She smiles then, not guarded, not professional, just real. "And you don't have to stay in the water forever," she adds. "Some things are worth stepping out for." Adrian turns to her. "Are you one of those things?" Lila doesn't answer immediately. When she does, her voice is steady. "I'd like to be." They walk out together that night. No touching. No promises. Just shared steps through the quiet parking lot. The echo of water still clinging to their skin. At her car, she pauses. "So," she says softly, "coffee really does exist outside of swimming pools."